of the biggest mistakes I see people make is just applying social norms badly. So, for example, I was on my way to work the other day and saw an ad that had obviously been designed for the London Underground. It said 9 out of 10 people in this carriage could be happier at work, and the other one probably uses our product. Now, I get what they were trying to do, but they're effectively saying 9 out of 10 people don't use our product and don't think it's worth investing in, which probably isn't the message they were trying to send.
The number one mistake people make when applying behavioral science is not realizing that the intervention, not the principle, is what's going to change behavior. How cleverly and well designed the intervention is at applying the principle and being engaging and being interesting or being beautiful and causing the person to want to engage with it and interact with it, while having the principle at the center as the influencing and as the prime hypothesis behind what's being created is essential. So focus on the intervention as much as you focus on the principle.
The biggest mistake people make when applying behavioral economics is taking a kitchen sink approach. And so what happens is you learn all of these new effects, they seem really powerful, you get really excited, and you end up mashing them all together, and shouldn't do that. So at One Medical, we use behavioral economics all over the place. So for example, for patients with diabetes, we might send them an email that uses social norms to remind them to get their A1C checked. And so that's a lab test that's really important for patients with diabetes. We might say something like, hey, Paul, 90% of our patients with diabetes get their A1C checked each year, right? We might also use a consistency framing, right? In a different email, we might say, hey, Paul, you look like the kind of person who takes care of himself. Every year for the past 5 years, you've gotten your A1C checked. We noticed that this year you haven't gotten your A1C checked. It's time to go in and get those labs drawn. Or in a different email, we might use loss aversion. We might say something like, it's important to get your A1C checked to make sure that we can manage your diabetes and prevent blindness. The problem comes in when you take all of these ideas and you stick them together, right? And you end up coming across as very heavy-handed, and people catch on. So what I've seen people do is they get really excited and they write emails that go something like, hey, Paul, you look like the kind of person who takes care of himself. Every year for the past 5 years, you've gotten your A1C checked, you've gotten your labs. It's time to get your A1C checked this year. Be like the 90% of patients with diabetes who get their A1C checked. And in conclusion, it's important to get your A1C checked to make sure we can prevent you from losing your eyesight and avoid an untimely death. And people are kind of like, who wrote this thing, right? No one actually talks like that. And so as you learn these tools, just be really careful to avoid mashing them all together, because you're simply going to come across as unnatural and inauthentic.